In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this welcome sign with a hanging potted plant. It's great for your front porch. It's great as a gift. I've been seeing these a lot online. I'm in some woodworking groups on Facebook. These things are all the rage right now. I'm going to show you how to make it. There'll be some plans available for you to get down in the description. So let's get started. So to start with, I found a lot of boards in my shop that I can use to make this item. These are all cut-offs from previous projects, so I didn't go out and actually buy any wood for this. Now, I want to say as a disclaimer, I am using just normal pine boards. They're all 2x materials, so I have 2x4s, 2x6s. I have a 2x8 and a 2x10. And these are all cut-offs, stuff I already had. I did not buy pressure-treated lumber. Now, if you are making this and setting it outside in the weather, I highly recommend using pressure-treated lumber. This item will sit under a porch, the one I'm making. It will never get weather. It won't get rain on it. So weather is not an issue. I feel safe in using regular pine for this situation. I would not do that if I was setting it outside where it'll get rained on, snowed on, or whatever. So keep that in mind. Use the materials that you would need for your situation. I didn't want to go buy anything. I knew I didn't need it to be pressure treated. I had what I needed on hand. If you knew that yours was never going to see the weather, it's going to be cheaper to build it out of non-pressure treated lumber, and I would recommend using that if that were the situation. One thing I wanted to add, I made plans. They'll be available down in the description. It'll take you to my Etsy store and you can get them there. I have them color coded so you can kind of see what piece is what kind of wood. It makes it easy to quickly look at it and see what you need to cut out of each type of wood or what each size of wood board that you have. Now, when we make this, the top piece where, a lot of people will make these and it says welcome on that piece, that size of that piece can be variable. I wouldn't go less than a 2x6 for that, but 2x6 may be too small. So if you have a CNC router or a laser cutter, you can make your own wording for that piece. If you don't, you're probably going to need to go buy the wording for that, whatever you want it to say. I went to Hobby Lobby. They have a lot of choices of words you can put on there, and it's probably a pretty good option. But what I would recommend before you determine what that piece is, where the words are going to go, what size the piece is, where the words are going to go, if you have to buy the words, get those first so you can see if it'll fit on the actual piece. So the ones I found at Hobby Lobby, it'll be probably pretty close to being too big if I were to put those words on a 2x6. So what I'm opting to do, and I'm going to be cutting mine on the CNC, I'm using a 2x8, gives me a little bit extra width that I can fit the words on nicer, and I think it'll just fit this a lot better. So before I do that, I need to cut the top piece to size, and I need to stain these all the color. So I'm actually going to cut all my pieces right now. Then I'm going to stain everything unassembled. Then I'll assemble it and cut this out in that process. Cut the word welcome out in the process. And that way, the reason I want to do that is I need to stain this first because I want when I cut the word away, it'll reveal the unstained wood and it'll create a contrast between the stain and the unstained. Makes it a lot easier to see the words. And that's the look I want to go for here. So I have to stain this piece beforehand. Now I put in the plans this top piece where the words go. I have it, like I said, I have it in the plans that they're 2x6. If you use a 2x6, you'll be able to get this entire project made out of one 2x4 8-footer, one 2x6 8-footer, and one 2x10 8-footer. If you choose to make this a different size, the piece where the words go on, a different size, it will change that. I wrote in my plans that, you know, that could change a little bit. You could make it out of a 2x10, and you would, if you buy a 2x10, you'll have enough length to get the word piece, the piece where the words actually go, and the other piece that's necessary for this project out of one 2x10. So it could change things a little bit in my material list and cut list. Just keep that in mind when you look in the plans, that this board where the words are going to go, what you use will kind of determine what materials you need. So let's get started. I'm going to cut these all to size, and then we are going to stain everything. So now that I've cut all the pieces to size, the next thing I want to do before I actually stain these is I just want to sand them a little bit. When you buy lumber such as this, there's usually stamps on it that I don't want to show through the stain. So this one had one. This one has some green circular stamps as well as some stamps on this side. I just want to sand those off. I mean, this is outdoor furniture, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to get some of those defects like that off. Obviously, I'm dealing with knots. That is normal with this grade of wood. I'm not worried about that. So we're going to clean those up with some sandpaper, and we're going to keep moving. So the next step is I'm going to apply the stain. I've used this stain in some other videos I have. I like how it looks. It's honey teak, made by Cabot. So we're going to use that. So I ran into a problem. I thought that this stain was going to contrast a little bit more with the wood underneath, and as you can see, it didn't. So from a distance, it doesn't show up very well. I'm not too pleased with that. I hate to do it, but I think I'm going to actually paint this in. So my recommendation, if you go this route, make sure you use a stain that's darker, significantly darker, that'll contrast with the wood really well. Otherwise, you're gonna have this problem. So now, my unsteady hand is gonna try to paint this in with a brush. So, we'll see how this goes. I will save you the boredom and stress of watching me try to do this. Hopefully, when I go to put this together, it looks okay. So keep that in mind. It's just a little tip. You don't want this to happen to you. Now, if you're attaching something that's already pre-cut, like what I showed you at Hobby Lobby, or if you have a CNC laser, that you can cut out lettering and glue it on. That's not going to be a problem with this. Or if you have one of those vinyl cutting machines, they're called Crickets, I think, and you can cut the letters out, also not an issue. I do know that some people online are using stencils for this. The only thing I caution you with a stencil is you can get paint that'll bleed up underneath. It can also bleed out just by soaking through the wood grain. So I would highly recommend sealing everything with a polyurethane before you paint on the words. If you're using a stencil, it'll help prevent that bleeding from happening. But you have to be really careful when doing that, because it's easy for paint to get up underneath the stencil. So keep that in mind if you're doing that route. Obviously, learn from my mistake if you're going this route. And I'm going to paint this in, and I'll catch you here when we go to put this all together. All right, so I painted this in yesterday. I decided to go with black. You can see it stands out a lot better. So that's not an ideal situation. If I knew I was going to paint something, I would have probably masked this thing. I have some masking material that sticks really well. Cut it out, spray paint it in. Takes a lot less time. Had to be kind of careful with this to not come and get marks outside of the letters. So something I usually try to avoid if I can, just because I'm not a very steady hand when it comes to painting. So we're going to assemble this now. Now I had some tan colored exterior screws. I thought they looked pretty close to the right color. I'm going to use those anywhere screws will be visible. I do have some other construction screws that you know, I could use for the bottom, and I probably will, but anywhere that a screw could be seen, I'm going to use these. Now, I'm one who doesn't love to be able to see your fasteners, but this is a project where you almost have to see them. So there, I'll do it over here. Do it on the top of this leg. Just gonna go like that. I'm going to start a screw. Easier to get started like this. And I think I'm going to put a clamp on this. Alright, so I got a clamp on here. I'm going to screw the top one in here. And just sink it down to the surface of the piece and don't go any further. Now I'm going to double check to make sure that this board is right. It might need just slightly adjusted, so I'm going to just check the offset there. That's pretty close right there. I'm going to screw the other screw in. 2 screws is really all you need here. And that's one side. Now I just got to repeat for the other side. Yeah, put this last screw in. And now it should be easier to attach the top. I can find my mark. There it is. Now I'm going to double check just in case the width of this is a little bit off. Double check my overhangs. In case it's a little bit twisted on there, and it is, I can see it. Okay, so here's what we have so far. We're just going to repeat the process on the bottom. And these screws won't be seen, so I really don't need to use these higher cost screws. I'm going to use just some construction screws. Save these for another day. So I just discovered that my camera stopped in the middle of the bottom assembly. So I just wanted to explain exactly what I did here. And basically for this piece, I did the exact same thing as I did up top. I centered it so that the overhang on each end was equal, and so that the overhang on each side here and here was equal. So once I did that, I crawl inside of here. I centered this piece then on the 2x6, and I just screwed it in 4 different places. Made sure that the screws were slightly countersunk so that they weren't like scraping on whatever it is that it was going to rest on. So that's really all I did. I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't want to leave that out and make you wonder what the heck happened here. How did all of a sudden get legs or like a bottom to it? This is how I did it. Very simple. It's just a little bit of measuring, make some real faint pencil marks, and bring the screws up through the other side. So here it is assembled. It's going to be pretty sturdy, really. You get some weight hanging here in a pot. It'll lower that center of gravity, and it should be good. The only thing we got to do is we have to add a hook right here. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll be ready to hang it. So I found a nice J-hook at the garden center. It was actually at Menards. It's on sale, so even better. What you're going to want to do with these, at least with this one, I'm sure there's different styles you can get, but this is just going to require a hole to be drilled, and then this twisted in. So I want to find the center point of this, and you want to get the right size drill bit. This one says a 3/16 drill bit. So I'll get one of those out after I mark the center point. So let's just see here. This is 20. All right, drill this out. And we just turn the hook in. Now I want to tell you one thing that happened here. This called for a 3/16 hole. I screwed this in, and that hole was so loose that there's no way that's right. So I already had a hole established. That's a problem because the hole was too big. The threads didn't even really grab. So here's the little fix I made. I put a little bit of exterior wood glue down in there. I took some toothpicks, 3 toothpicks, and I stuffed them down in that hole with the glue. Now, that glue will harden. It'll all get solid in there once that dries. This screwed in a lot better because it grabbed the wood that was in the toothpicks as well, and it just created a tighter hole. This thing, I mean, I can pick it up on it right now, and that glue hasn't even dried yet. So that is a solution. If you ever have too big of a hole, you can fix it by using some toothpicks. A little wood glue doesn't hurt. So this should be good. I'm gonna go get a potted plant and set it on the porch, and we'll see how it looks. Hey, thanks for watching. Pretty simple project right here. I ran into a few issues. We worked through those. Turned out great. This will look great on a front porch. If you're making this and you know what pot you're going to hang here, you may want to adjust the height a little bit depending on what you are hanging. This is a little bit smaller pot. I probably could have reduced the height by a few inches and it wouldn't hurt anything. But all in all, it looks great. It's a great setting for the front door. And I hope you have enjoyable time making it. If you have any questions, drop them down in the description. Check out these videos right here, and we'll catch you next time.